Manifest America 3019. Sinister rebels are attempting to divide our great nation. But the Manifest News Network is here to keep us in line. And now 2 former rebels have joined our team. I repented. I conformed. I will guide you to manifest glory, and you will follow.
A wise man once said that every nation should be fertilized from time to time with the blood of the weak. I don't remember his name, and I don't even remember if I got that quote right, but it doesn't matter because you're listening to UX Industries Presents Let Freedom Screech. Caw-caw! We are, of course, sponsored by UX Luxury Ghost Water with flavors such as maybe a citrus and wine memory. UX Luxury Ghost Water, because you can't spell luxury without UX. Folks, there are people who every day are out there on the front lines, or the sidelines, or the back lines, fighting for your freedom. Now, we don't know necessarily what they're fighting against, but they are fighting every day and dying by multitudes. And we're here to get a better idea of what exactly they're dealing with and the problems and issues that are being faced. I, first off, would like to welcome back our longtime business correspondent, UX 813121. UX, how you doing?
Jack, I'm great, but, I'm troubled as well. Because, yes, our military does face very real threats. On the border, in the sky, this migrant caravan, perhaps. We have to be prepared. We have to be prepared for those Martians coming for America.
They could be coming at any time. They could be knocking on that door, except there's not even a dome for them to knock on. There's not even that line of defense. Again, call your senators, folks. But beside the point, we have some lovely guests this evening to talk about the real issues. First off, I would like to introduce a fine standing gentleman in this nation of ours. Welcome to Let Freedom Screech, Mr. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. How are you doing?
Yes. Welcome to me.
And we are glad to be welcomed by you and to you. And of course, more of an eyes on the ground feel. We would like to bring forth as a guest one Sergeant Abbott. Sergeant Abbott.
Evening, sir.
Now, we brought you all here for this nice roundtable discussion. But first, let's get a little background. What are some bona fides for this military experience? Sergeant Abbott.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about your service?
Sure. I've served 4 terms in the war against the migrants and one against some internal insurgents, and we just gotta keep praying to our troops. If we're not there on the front line, who will be?
Exactly. Thoughts and prayers always with those frontline boys and girls, and by that I do mean children. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. How about yourself?
Yes. I'm a member of one of those oft-forgot groups of people who make this happen for this great nation. I'm just from a small corporation. One might call me a baron of war, a war baron. I've been described as. You know. And I think war on the ground, in the air, at the border is very important, because without that I wouldn't have a job. We're a very small mom and pop operation operating under the Halliburton umbrella.
Absolutely, and we love small business owners here on Let Freedom Screech. So, thank you for your service on the business end of things. Now UX 813121, you have also started to enter into this field as well. How is that?
That's correct, Jack. I don't mean to be any sort of competition for you. I mean, in fact, I'd love to learn from you, Damien. Or is it Mr. Smith Wesson IV?
Both. It's the full name.
Oh, every time.
Yes, Damian Cavendish Smith
that.
Wesson IV.
I will respect that to the end of my days. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. Yes, I've entered into the business of manufacturing weapons. I've got a new line coming out. I think that it is of the utmost importance that we protect this country, and weapons are the means to do so.
Yes, agreed. Here.
Indeed. I have several new lines of weapons I'm working on as well. I'm working on a massive bomb.
Oh.
Yes, it's going to be the weapon to end all weapons. It's sort of it's a very dangerous thing to use, I think. It's sort of a secret weapon, but you know what? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to all of you right now. I'll tell you what we're doing.
Oh, wow, listeners.
Instead of fire and fury and that kind of thing, I've chosen the most powerful, the most impactful force on the planet. And that, you've already mentioned it today, thoughts and prayers. We whisper thoughts and prayers into the bomb as it's being built. And there's no more powerful force. We know this. As soon as that thing drops, all good will be done.
Wow. That's amazing. Although I do feel that everyone coming together as a community, putting their thoughts and prayers to kill the wicked, is, while fantastic, maybe lacks a little bit of that personal touch. Now, Sergeant, we were talking a little bit before the show about how just you feel that modern warfare has lost a little bit of that personal touch.
That's right. We really gotta go back to the birth of war, back to that Sun Tzu, you gotta get in someone's face, see the white of their eyes, and just rip them apart. And that's really the humanity of war. There's no greater human element than just ripping someone to shreds.
That's a beautiful point, and especially on that ground's eye view. How can you really know that you're doing your job and you are doing your best then with your hands around another living being's life in your hands, and you feel that warm, hot breath?
Exactly.
Just gasping.
There's no greater joy than just seeing the light move out of someone,
Wow.
Sergeant.
Yeah.
Sergeant Abbott, I have the weapon for you in this case. I'd love you to go on a field test with our new David Bowie knife.
Oh.
Yeah, so you get up close, you push it into their guts, and they will be seeing a starman in the sky. I'll tell you that.
I'd be willing to give it a try, but it just sounds like we could get a little bit stronger. I feel like we've gotten a little weak,
Oh.
We gotta go back to our roots.
Yeah, you gotta to reach in deep within and find that darkness. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV, is there a darkness inside you?
Oh, there's a great darkness. There's a large emptiness that can only be filled with money.
I've certainly learned that money does fill. It takes the place of happiness. You don't need happiness if you have money.
No, I was trained out of happiness. Last time I felt happiness, I was 4. My teddy bear was taken away and it was replaced with a wad of cash.
Oh wow! Now, Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV, how do you maintain all that money? UX is coming hot and heavy with a lot of new products. What necessarily is your small mom and pop operation? What are your biggest selling products right now?
Well, there are some items that I would say are quite similar to what UX has proposed, and I would love, in fact, to take a look at those plans, perhaps maybe help you formulate some further plans, maybe we could collaborate, I could absorb some of the costs and the profits.
Sure, well, we can have your people talk to my people, you can look over a few things, maybe give me a few ideas, but the thing is, I'm actually concerned, Damian Cavendish.
Concerned?
Indeed. You only have this one method of profit, is war, is weaponry and destruction, and I really say as a businessman I've learned it's key to branch out.
Are you insinuating that the war business is in danger?
What's the last war we've had?
Yeah, I would like to butt in for just a second here. There's a lot of talk of branching out, and there's a lot of talk of overlooking things, and I think that is actually striking to the core of a very real problem today in America's military, that there is so much talk. There's so much talk, ... about branching out and trying to cover all bases. I don't know, have you guys looked at this? Have you seen this? Have you read this in the news?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a debate going on about accommodating for left-handed troops.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is on its face ludicrous, according to this paper that I'm reading right now. It is on its face ludicrous and ridiculous, and I'm not for it. And Abbott, how much of a tizzy of a tiff are left-handed soldiers?
The way that we did it back in the day, we were always cocking with our right hand, smashing with our left. And if we gotta switch hands, how are we going to really knock everyone down? How are we going to take care of our border?
That's fair.
If we're so busy trying to figure out how to use something for the left-handed people.
I know. What shoulder do you cradle it in? It doesn't even matter. And you're trying to knock some out of the way. You got to use it with the left hand. That's the devil's hand.
Right, that's the smacking hand.
Absolutely. I would like to put this question to both of you as Americans and as patriots. UX813121, Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. What are you doing to help fight this left-handed menace? I'm going to be honest. It's a menace.
Well, I must say that, I mean, and Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV could really back me up on this, that weapons manufacturing, the margins are slim. They're very small. In fact, I barely make any money at all from weapon manufacturing. I can't imagine how you're getting along. However, to provide for left-handed people, to create a gun that allows them to fire with their left hand, do you realize how few that they're in the minority? Why should we placate them? Why should we, spend our resources to accommodate this?
Yeah,
we
yeah.
shouldn't. And to stop this, what I'm doing is I'm working with our congressmen, our political faction within these great United States to ban left-handed people from the military. They chose to be left-handed. And we can't accommodate that. It costs too much money. It's far too expensive.
It's fair. It's fair.
Agreed. I thought that we had eradicated all left-handed people in the 2800s. I'm constantly shocked when I see one. I don't understand how they function in public. But you're absolutely right, UX. It's impossible, simply impossible, to make something specifically for such a minority. I mean, it's completely impractical. I say, adapt, do it right-handed. I should never know that you were any other handedness.
Oh yeah.
It's a, if you will, and I believe I'm coining this just out of the air. I would say don't ask and don't tell.
Absolutely.
I don't want to know that you're left-handed.
If you're going to have to do it behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
Christ.
And none of this ambidextrous stuff, all right?
Oh.
All right? You think you're young and you're in college, okay? I'll just do whatever with my hands, all right? Don't be greedy. Learn with your right.
I
That's all I'm
don't
saying.
believe it exists.
Absolutely.
If they must be there, I feel like we should just let them do their own thing,
No.
Just don't fight, maybe just be the human shield.
Okay.
Ooh.
Now that
Yeah.
modern problems require modern solutions.
That way, 2 birds, 1 stone, we're killing them off, but also they're still benefiting us.
Absolutely. Now that is that precision military thinking. Not all this complaints about supplies and being understaffed and underserved and fatalities and not getting body armor. You make do with what you have. God bless you, sir. Mission accomplished.
Thank
Salute
you.
the troops.
I have to say, though, this brings up another point, though. Injured veterans. It's, again, something that is too costly, is to take care of veterans after they have been injured within the military. It's too much to care for them for the rest of their lives.
Again, just use them. If they have to be there, just cut them up and eat them. If you run out of food, it's just another way.
Meals ready to eat, I think. Yeah, that's certainly one option. UX Industries is working on another, however. We plan to take disabled veterans and re-enable them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, we have the technology to augment their injuries with cybernetics, with sort of make them cyborgs, right? And
Okay.
put them right back up into the front lines. That's what they signed up for, right? So why shouldn't they have to fight until they die?
Wow. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. We are getting promises of half man, half machine, all soldier, all patriot. Is there anything that you're working on that front? Perhaps a bio-augmented bicentennial man?
I would love to say that we are, but we actually discovered in this industry that was deeply impractical. We went the medical route and attempted to fix people's bodies and minds. That became increasingly exponentially expensive. Duct tape does help. Duct tape and a few pins and rods. But people are often just mentally fractured after so much war.
Wow.
And we found they just needed a good backhanding. But beyond that, I would be interested to see what new technology can bring us.
Well, wouldn't we all? And with that promise of the suspense of new technology, perhaps frightening to our enemies, and perhaps patriotic to ourselves, we're gonna have to actually throw to a commercial break real quick. But I would like to thank our guests for this segment, Sergeant Abbott, and of course, Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. Is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners before we go out?
The military truly is the closest we have to gods here in America, and just keep praying for and praising the troops.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll be right back on Let Freedom Screech.
From the beginning, I knew my child was unique. Always able to express ideas creatively, excelling at school, standing out from the crowd. It's been a nightmare, and I don't know where to turn for help.
Well, hello there. That's why I created Anti-Vax.
Why are you in my house?
Anti-Vax is the only manifest-approved vaccine. With Anti-Vax, your child is safe from the only disease parents seem to care about: autism spectrum disorder.
Actually, I'm also very concerned about the...
Anti-Vax is recommended by 6 out of 5 doctors.
Is anti-vax safe?
Side effects of anti-vax include measles, polio, autism, scarlet fever, yellow fever, hay fever, cabin fever, depression, incontinence, bubonic plague, super autism, Spanish influenza, impotence, double vision, and autism. Anti-vax may not be suitable for everyone, but is required by law.
Thanks to anti-vax, my child has polio, just like all the other kids.
That's the power of Anti-Vax.
Anti-vax. Better dead than different.
And you're back to Let Freedom Screech. We are proudly sponsored by Murder Go-Go. Murder Go-Go, the only remaining assassination crowdfunding platform on the market. Hate your neighbor? Start a campaign and get them gone. Murder Go-Go, UX813121 bought stock in it, so you should use it. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. Unfortunately, Sergeant Abbott did have to step out. Apparently, the bloodlust was getting uncontrollable, and they just had to take life with their own hands. But luckily, we have our next guest coming in, a war historian, Dr. Lily Ann Cartwright. Welcome to Let Freedom Screech.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
And I'm so glad we were able to get you here. And, of course, Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV, so glad you were able to stick around. I'm glad that your days of leisure have worked well into our schedule. We are talking about something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. History, more specifically, war history, military history. Because if we don't know our history, then we don't know it. That's apparently bad. Dr. Lily Ann Cartwright, what can you tell us about how America is shaped by our victories?
Well, if you look at our most recent past in the 7th War of the Cockatiel, you'd see that afterwards, the United States split into different factions, and that's kind of where we net it out now. We've got a whole different culture brewing down south of the border because of this war, and as we continue to have this militaristic society, we're seeing factions grow out of this. And really, we should just have a monoculture society.
Oh, wow. Okay. One culture, one voice. Interesting. I myself would have to disagree a little bit in some of my and UX813121's past exploits as terrorists. We were young. We did end up going across this great nation of ours, and we did find people from all sorts of walks of life. People affected by tornadoes, mutants, those on fire. And in a way, I feel that those differences make us stronger in a little bit of a way. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV, what have been your experiences with other people?
Yes, I find that war is the great unifier. Especially when you wipe out the weakest and your enemies, or anyone who blatantly disagrees with you. Simply removing one of those factions really brings the other factions together, and that's what war is about as family.
Certainly, Jack, I think that that's a dangerous way of thinking. In fact, I can prove that with a fantastic example. I think we all know that the Nick Cage clones around America are some of the strongest individuals there are, and yet we have a single unified clone culture.
Yes, of course. The Cages are known for their singular voice, their singular utility in the world itself. And now that you mention it, I am reminded, of course, of the past war, 2437. I believe it was called Fuck New Mexico. Yeah, where all other states just decided that New Mexico was a problem. And you were right, war did unify them together, and now New Mexico is but a faded memory and a few indie folk songs.
Indeed. One culture, one way of thinking, as directed by the manifest, Jack, is really the way to go. It's the safest route, and I think we've learned that on our travels.
Right, yeah, absolutely. If there's one thing that we can say, we learned that. Disregard things that were said 5 minutes ago.
I mean, I think if you look at the golden era of America, right, the 1950s, McCarthyism, we were all united together to fight out the communists.
Oh, yeah.
There were no other groups or cultures happening. It was just one nation united under God against the Reds.
And that was a fair point. The world was in peril by those just deciding to get all lovey-dovey with each other.
That's right.
Mainly playwrights. Scourge of the earth. And thank God those guys are gone. We, once again, in our past terroristic travels, we saw something of a play, something like that. It was in one of those illicit materials. It's good, it's gone. Most boring thing in the world, nary a car chase in sight.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about war is that it completely destroys all semblance of a culture to develop one united group.
Wow. Damian Cavendish Smith Wesson IV. If you'd had your druthers about you, you could engineer a war, make this nation one culture, all unified. What would you go with? I think everyone has a dream culture, you know.
Oh, yes. Well, a lot of that is in process as we speak.
Oh, all right.
Oh, certainly. That's no secret. Yes, many of the land wars, also all of our naval exploits are really to bring everyone together, sort of a cheerleader. You know, that's why we have an all-gay navy. It's really just to bring everyone in the sense of togetherness. You brought up the fuck New Mexico war.
Oh yeah.
Of the 2400s, and as you recall, New Mexico sucked and therefore was absorbed by Arizona.
Absolutely.
Which this is the United States of America, and I think the most American thing you can do to bond together is to absorb your lessers.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing that could learn that lesson, Rhode Island, who is, for 3 years in a row now, has continually tried to invade Connecticut for more land, keeps getting pushed back every single time, and it needs to realize it's the weak pup. And it's not getting nursed. It's not getting that sweet, sweet mother milk. It needs to give up. Let Connecticut eat it. Like a twin fetus in the womb.
Take a lesson from Delaware.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not going to fall right off into the ocean, which most of it has. Yes. Just lie down.
Jack, on the subject of Rhode Island, don't you see that state as sort of being a whetstone for Connecticut, though? If Connecticut were strong enough to consume it, why wouldn't it just do it? Perhaps Rhode Island makes Connecticut stronger by being that constant opposition.
Perhaps that's a very good point. It's a fantastic point. Opposition does breed strength, unless you're weak, in which case you deserve to no longer exist. Again, fetus in the womb, just eat it.
I actually did consume my already dead twin. It was my first lesson in consuming the weak.
Oh, wow.
I do regret it because he wasn't able to defend himself, and I felt it would have been more fun if he'd put up a little bit of a fight, but we were embryos, so I think I can hardly be faulted.
That's fair. There ain't no crime. Ain't no crime. Now, you did bring up the Navy, and they're doing tremendous work. What can you tell us, actually, Dr. Lillian, about the evolution of the U.S. Navy?
Well, the Navy ended up becoming only focused on the border of the Upper America and the Central United States of America. It just travels right across that strait right there and just makes sure nobody is throwing anything into that little tiny speck of water.
Every speck matters, and they're doing the Lord's work. They are. I would love to see an expansion of the Navy myself. I mean, here I am, an armchair admiral. But I would love to see the Navy just deployed wherever, because I know for a fact that there are rafts made of rats that are soaring across all the waterways of this great nation. And while I'm sure there are fine people, there needs to be some defense against it. Now, UX, I'm sure you could speak to that as well.
Well, I certainly think the Navy should see some expansion as well. As you know, I run CAN, Kids Against Nature. And one of the problems we've come up against is nature, in fact.
Right.
Water seems to be encroaching on all sides of this great nation, and my kids can't pail it out fast enough.
Wow.
We're a sinking ship, as it were, and I'd prefer that the Navy handle a job like that.
Fair enough. So what could we do to get them in the right direction?
I think we should go back to our roots of just enlisting every child under the age of 14 back into the Navy.
Okay.
You know, we did away with that and just waited until they were 16 to conscript them in the Army. But I think, you know, you need to have an initial tour with the Navy before you can move on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if HB 813121 sees its way through the congressional legislative process,
Oh, yeah.
I think we can see people as young as 6 years old in the Navy.
That's gonna be amazing leap. We have not had children at that age. I think the closest was age 10, the 2753. It was some type of border dispute. I think it was some people thought New Mexico was better again. It's fiendish.
But
horrible.
those kids were conscripted and did not have the choice to join.
Right, absolutely. They should be incentivized to join and to fight and most probably die a glorious death for their nation. Miles Cavendish Smith Wesson IV, death with pride. How do you want kids to approach that?
Well, I think that we should incentivize it, of course, as many food manufacturers have, which is with small prizes. Yes, small plastic figures which represent their hopes and dreams. I think could be produced cheaply, widely, and could be recycled.
Oh, wow.
We'll continue to get shipments back as children can no longer use them for obvious reasons.
That is dynamic equilibrium, as they say. As a bit of a conservationist, that is an amazing idea, I think.
Yeah, an inventive businessman. I'm surprised you've never branched out.
We did go into toy manufacturing for a while. We didn't change the products. We just marketed them differently. That had a finite shelf life, as it were. So,
I believe, didn't that lead to the Children's Crusade about 10 years ago?
Yes, there's a great generational demise for a while there that, you'll notice there aren't a lot of 25 to 32-year-olds.
How was that? How did that affect the current generation, the survivors, as it were?
Well, that's why I think we should bring back conscription into the Navy, as there is no current group that is bringing about change and teaching the youth. We really need to have more people fueled into the system to continue to make it efficient. When we saw the destruction of one age group, you know, it happened with the third New Mexico endeavor. It just did not pan out well for us.
Absolutely. Well, in closing, the survivors, they're really not making their survivorship worth living. It's almost as if they should have died and their friends should have lived. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap it up for this particular episode of Let Freedom Screech. I would, of course, like to thank my guests, Dr. Lillian Cartwright. If anyone else is interested in military history, what would you suggest?
Right. Well, I host a talk every other Thursday at West Point. It's 4:35 p.m. And we will be including with that a free pail of corn syrup.
Oh.
If you join.
Fantastic. Now that is a deal. That is a mitzvah, as they say. And of course, Damon Cavendish, Smith Wesson IV. Again, glad that you came back. Is there any new products on the line that you haven't mentioned yet?
Speaking of corn syrup, we are, and this is a large secret. Not even the stockholders know. We are actually getting into candy. Yes, candy weaponry. So it dual use. You can shoot it. You can shoot yourself in the face with it. You can then eat it. Or you can kill your enemies.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, again, I'd like to thank our guests. Thanking, of course, our longtime business correspondent and main sponsor of the show, UX813121.
Thanks, Jack. I'd like to take the time to also pitch my food-based weaponry product. It's called the Clone Cannon, where you can fire a weaponized Nicolas Cage clone into your enemies or into your backyard to barbecue up for some delicious Cage fingers.
Fantastic. Well, yum, yum. I am famished. I'm going to go get me some brisket. This has been Let Freedom Screech. Caw-caw! They still haven't given me the sound effect for it yet.
Unfollow the Revolution was created and performed by David Gossett, Benjamin Mitchell, and David Nair. Produced by Rock Punch. Edited by Molly Rowland. Intro music by Alan Hanks. Voiceover by Jenny Wentling. We would like to thank our special guest this episode,
Ivan Segovia.
Natalie Otterson.
If you want to keep raging against the manifest, support the American Civil Liberties Union at aclu.org, because the best way to destroy tyranny in the future is to fight it in the present.